And I fell asleep during the prelims.
It's so shit. I fell asleep during the prelims. I was fucking knackered on Saturday.
I fell asleep. We were doing well on the picks.
Mate,
I woke up. We did not.
I fell asleep thinking we were geniuses. Actual geniuses. I was just like, man, it's all going so well. And then even watching the rest of the fight Sunday morning, I was like, Al Hassan. I was like, you know what? I'm happy for Al Hassan. That's what I'm glad to be wrong on. So when the Pennington nod happened, I was still feeling the same way. I was like, man, you know what? 2 fights wrong. I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm happy that the 2 people I thought would lose win. The rest is gravy. Now let's get back to me looking like a genius. And then fucking Kopylov, and then Ige, then fucking Strickland. Yeah, we look like idiots.
Yeah, plus like only the Pennington fight was close. I mean, Ribeiro was looking good against Al Hassan and just got caught. You know, that was a really loopy hook that like hit him. Actually, do you want to have a cold open? Should we just roll on in?
Yeah, let's just roll on in. Welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. Oh, man. Bit stoned. Just did a weird pause there. I'll cut that out.
Hey,
welcome back.
Hey, it was a good pause. I like the tension. Leave it in.
Welcome back, guys. We've got a lot to talk about. Cold open for you today. Cracking on thanks to the first card of the new year finally occurring. We've waited a while. It happened. It came with drama. It came with controversy. Came with some surprising decisions that we were not expecting, as per anybody who watched our pick show is all too aware. We did not do particularly well, particularly on the main card. In fact, if you were to only look at the main card, we're morons. Absolute morons. Fortunately, I am not a moron alone. I am, of course, Matthew, joined by co-host Josh.
Yeah, well, the worst bit is that these fights weren't particularly close. That Pennington one's close. We'll get to that when we get to that. But it wasn't so close. I was a little surprised it was a split. Let's say it that way. The other fights, though, were kind of ass kickings.
It's definitely worse.
We looked very wrong.
It's definitely worse that you and I were identical on our picks as well. Like if one of us was just like one fight closer than the other, at the very least, that person would have like a feeling of victory, even after a poor showing. But this is like losing a really shitty 0-0 from like an own goal in the last minute. This is just like, there's nothing good you can take away from this.
No, but it has made it easier for me to break down the fights because through my strife, I felt an extra sense of motivation to do a good job analyzing instead.
Well, to be honest, the fights aren't that difficult to break down, as we will get into, but there's certainly a lot of talking points. Before we get into all of that, couple of messages, guys. First and foremost, please do like the video if you are enjoying the content. Leave a comment. Tell us your thoughts, what your opinions of the fights are, even negative comments we will appreciate. And a bit of an update as well. We are, after much deliberation and discussion and build-up and teasers, are going to be moving across to our new YouTube channel. Fresh start and all that. So I think the plan is this episode, we're going to pop on the old channel and the new channel. We'll probably do that with the pick show as well, my guess would be. And then eventually in the next couple of weeks or so, phase out. So for you listeners who are going to be sticking with us, are currently subscribed, are regular viewers and enjoy the content, please do jump across. I'm sure that we can pop a link for the new channel in the description of either this video or the pick show. I think that can be easily done. And come along with us.
Yeah, that's no problem at all.
This channel had
we dropped in a link for Tom's bets on the award show as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so anyone that was thinking how to get to Tom's, just go check the description on that video and you'll find the link in there.
Good man. But yeah, we can make sure that happens. And yeah, reason I think really is just that quite a few errors we made with this channel. We kind of just jumped on without really knowing what we were doing. And quite a few of our early subscribers were just people that didn't really have any interest in MMA, sort of giving us a pity subscription. And I think the best thing for us, we feel, is to kind of start fresh with the people that enjoy us for what we do, and hopefully try and grow the channel from there with our shit a little bit more together. Eventually,
Exactly.
hopefully next week, I think we'll be going back to video as well. Just waiting for Josh to finish his little audio interface setup. He's got a whole thing. We tried to get it to work the other week, but it's all very complicated. There's lots of wires going into different wires and different boxes going into other boxes. So it definitely looks like it's going to be pretty cool, but it is over my tech level of understanding.
Yeah, we're moving forward. We're going to do some cool stuff.
It's been a bit 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but going in the right direction. So yeah, with all of that out the way, let's draw our attention to the weekend's past fighting action, starting with Mr. Sean Strickland, who comes in on what, 5 days notice, 4 days notice? How long did he get before Gastelum stepped out? It was like the Monday or the Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was probably 5-6 days.
Not
I think
a
it was
lot.
like 6 days. Gastelum pulled out. I'm not sure how quick Sean jumped back on, but obviously having already fought 4 weeks ago on the last UFC card, which is
Yes.
just insane.
And also
two 5-rounders back to back.
Also, with the small matter of Christmas and New Year's wedged in between, where he was very vocal about the fact that he was not training, he was not watching his diet, he was not keeping in shape, he was very much enjoying the holidays, and probably, pushing down some of those bitter feelings about the decision that went against him with Cannonier into some extra turkey bowls. So, fight was at light heavyweight. Let's give a few props there. He did come in with a 10-pound weight advantage. Nasruddin had obviously already been well into his sort of process of getting down to 185. I can understand the argument of people saying that has a factor, but 5 days notice, 10-pound weight class, 10-pound weight difference, probably none of that being overly beneficial weight. Yeah, Sean Strickland deserves a lot of credit, man, because he kind of made Nasruddin Imavov look a little average, if we're being really honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the big criticism wouldn't be that Imavov should have gotten down to as low a weight as possible, because there would have been an obvious kind of size discrepancy. More just because how the fight played out. And I'm not gonna. I'm kind of with you. I don't think it was all the weight advantage. I think these are people looking for ways to nitpick. I think what it really was just the first 2 rounds kind of wore away at Imavov a little bit in terms of his self-belief. That first round was very much style, again, straightforward aggression. He tried some creative stuff. He was trying to get cute. There's a nice little spinning elbow in there that didn't even come close to landing because Strickland just kept chopping away at the gap in between them. And, when he missed on that elbow, again, it was just another trigger for Sean's offense. And I cannot believe how well he controlled the pace of this fight. By constantly being the forward aggressor and being able to dictate a slower, reasonable pace. He was pretty consistent with his output throughout all 5 rounds. And then, like the second round, I think he sensed that Imavov was a little kind of shook by that first round, despite that nice elbow he lands at the end on Strickland. He decides to grind on him with the clinch a lot more, start to make a little bit of use of the excess weight, even if it wasn't all kind of shredded lean muscle. And he had that nice little kind of outside trip in there where it takes a bit of energy out of Imavov. He was just too inefficient, Imavov, across those first 2 rounds. I think he kind of lost a bit of belief in himself that he was going to get a decision here. And I don't think he really kind of got back to where he needed to be until the 5th round. That's where he really had the urgency, and it was kind of too little too late. He couldn't get Strickland out of there. But those first 2 rounds, man, I just think he didn't break Imavov, but he just took him out of that hyper focus, top tier athlete kind of mentality. And that cost him the fight.
Well, it's something that I don't think Strickland gets enough credit for in his career. And, I know that we've talked negatively in terms of, and obviously other people have commented on the fact that, there's nothing that he does that's overly complex with his striking. It's very rudimentary, but it's the basics done extremely well. he's so good at this having this, like, for this person that speaks all the crazy stuff and, you know, likes to talk to people in the cage a lot of the time, he's actually extremely methodical. You know, he's so good at just figuring out that range. He does so much sparring that you can tell he's really comfortable being in that just in and out, inside and outside of striking range. And, you know, his ability to put pressure on, use that 1-2, walk guys down, while at the same time being really hard to hit. It's the kind of thing that it doesn't seem that impressive until you go up against it, and then you realize how hard it is to deal with.
Yeah, and every time you do land on him, it's he understands that's go time. That's the trigger for his like offensive flurry. Imavov landed some nice combinations on Sean, and it felt like every time Imavov made a little bit of headway there with the damage, Sean was right back in it. He really is as straightforward as they come, but straightforward aggression trumps people trying to style on you, I guess. This yeah, he really
Also,
doesn't get enough credit. But it's the same kind of mistake he made against you know, Pereira, and that, you know, he got fucking clocked hard on that one. It's
well,
not a perfect strategy. He needs to mix in the takedowns and his grappling a lot more, because I think he could be close to unstoppable if he gets that recipe right.
I agree with you. A bit of offensive wrestling, I think, would go a long way with him. What I'd say on Imavov's side, the one thing I will give, you know, you're fighting a guy who's on 5 days' notice. However, you're fighting a guy that's higher ranked than the person you were meant to be fighting. And really, what was Imavov's fight previous to this? Was it the Joaquin Buckley fight?
Let me bring up. Good question.
I'm pretty sure it was Buckley in Paris. Now, I really like Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah.
I really like Joaquin Buckley. And okay, he might not be the most technical guy, but he's shown enough to show that he's a tough out for anybody. You know, he can give problems to anybody, and he will surprise you every now and again, and he can knock you out. But that's you know, the jump from Buckley to Gastelum is one thing, but the jump from Buckley to Sean Strickland, even on 5 days' notice, you know, Sean Strickland fought the number 3 ranked guy in the world 4 weeks ago. You know, I think I think there was a few things that Imavov got surprised by. And, you know, one thing that we did touch on the pick show, I didn't feel this was going to be able to be taken advantage of from Strickland because he didn't have the training camp. But one of the things that I did say is that give Sean Strickland a full training camp, he does match up really well against Imavov. And in the end, I think that was just the case. You know, he was never in danger of being out wrestled. He was very capable at establishing the distance, pace, and range and location that he wanted for the striking matchup. And Imavov just didn't really have an answer. And it kind of felt like, you know, obviously, was this his first 5-round fight, Imavov? I know it's the first 5-rounder in the UFC, but in his career.
I think I remember them saying on the broadcast it was his first 5-rounder ever, but don't quote me on that.
So you're fighting a higher ranked guy with a different style than what you would have been prepared for, and you're having to do it over 5 rounds. And pretty much everyone else that you fought, you've kind of been able to do things a certain way and be able to have that work out for you. So I don't want to say Imavov got exposed. I just think that this became quite a big jump, even though he's fighting a guy that didn't really have great preparation.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say. I mean, honestly, at 185, both of them having a full camp, you know, if Imavov doesn't get suckered in to losing his will a little bit early on, like he did in this one, I don't see why he couldn't push Strickland and make it a very competitive fight. Obviously, didn't go very well for him on this one. And the last thing he would be thinking about is rematching Strickland anytime soon. I think you want to get some more wins under your belt before you want to kind of get that one back. It's always a bit of a mistake to rush into rematches. He's not got the ranking for it right now, like you say.
Oh, I'm not talking about a rematch. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm talking about how they match up and where they are in terms of the division. I don't think there's as big a gap as the numbers suggest. Obviously, it's hard to say that because Nasruddin did shit the bed in those first sort of 4 rounds there.
We'll say it doesn't help when you fight. Like it doesn't help when you lose to the guy that's just taken the fight on short notice. It's not, even if you take all the other context out of it, it's just, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like it is what it is. I think he's going to bounce back. Obviously not headlining a card right away or anytime soon, but I think he'll get a good fight next. He's more than capable of beating a lot of the guys in this division. It's very feasible he could be, in the top 5 by the end of the year. Just got to get the right run together.
Would you just redo the Gastelum fight?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think that's a bad shout at all.
Both guys still coming off a loss. Gastelum was, I can't imagine he's needs that long to recover. I mean, what, 2 or 3, 4 months, something like that? I think they could both be back within a similar time frame, him and Nasruddin.
Yeah, potentially. I'm not a dentist, but I think that'd be reasonable. In my amateur dentistry opinion, that would be a good one. I don't think it's going to be a headline of a fight card, a fight night, unless something else drops off. But a very worthy co-main. I could get excited for that fight again.
How many times has this fight dropped off now?
No,
because I swear they've tried to book this more than once already. Gastelum Imavov. I have a feeling maybe Gastelum was meant. Jeff Buckley stepped in for Gastelum. I'm not 100% sure. That might be one of those weird fights that's just never really been able to click.
Yeah, you might be right there. Either way, though, unless there's another guy at 185 that needs an opponent in a couple months, which is probably the time frame he should be looking to come back in. It didn't look like he took too much head damage. Could be wrong. Maybe he wants longer, but I think getting back in there quite quickly would be a good idea. While you still got a number next to your name, try and get some more wins together. Like I say, with the right run, very well could be the end of the year. You're in the top 5. I mean, that's obviously kind of best case, but still, if he can, I think he'd be looking to get back in there quickly. And if he doesn't want to wait at all, then so be it.
Question is, who does
Sorry,
Strickland fight?
Kevin.
Who does Strickland fight now? Because he's in that kind of awkward position where what's available for him? He's just fought Cannonier. I don't think him and Vittori are like best mates, aren't they? I don't think they'd look to fight. And Vittori's already booked to fight Roman Dolidze. Paulo Costa's not happy with his contract. He's not looking to fight anybody at the moment. I mean, the only people ahead of him that he hasn't already fought is Whitaker and Brunson. Whitaker needs a fight. Whitaker's looking for a fight. The problem is, if you don't take that fight for Strickland or he doesn't fight above him, you look down the rankings. Well, he's already beaten Jack Hermansson. Dolidze's already spoken for. But then you've got names like Dricus du Plessis. That's a nasty fight. Like, that's a dangerous guy that not enough people know about yet. That's a terrible fight. And then after that,
matchup wise, I think Andre Muniz is a much, much, much worse fight for him because Muniz will, he will look to play a very different game to where Strickland has mostly been successful, and he catches that armbar in that very sort of funny position. I'm sure he has a few other tricks up his sleeve. I wouldn't like that one for Strickland. I think du Plessis feels like a more winnable fight, but again, very dangerous. And why do it if you're looking down?
Yeah. Anything I'll say about Andre Muniz Brunson. Is that he beat Uriah Hall, Andre Muniz, but he wasn't able to get a submission, and it wasn't like you came away from that thinking like a 3-4 years younger Uriah Hall could have won that fight. So I'm not quite sure how Andre Muniz performs against like the real top of the division, but time will tell. Time
Yeah, I'm
will
I'm kind of
tell.
high on my knees.
I know you are. I know you are. But I don't know. I think you got to see how that style works against the higher up guys, particularly some of the people that have elite takedown defense, and there's quite a few ahead of him in this division. Should we move down to the co-main event?
Yeah, let's go for it. This is another very one-sided. Well, say another. This would be the first of the really one-sided fights. This
Yeah,
was this was a bit of a tough watch, having picked Action Jackson.
I I will defend my pick on the basis that I thought form coming in was going to have a big factor. You know, I mean, Dan Ige is coming off the back. We spoke about this. You know, 4 losses in his last 5 fights, all of them seriously fucking tough. I mean, seriously fucking close fights. He's never not in the fight. But I also thought that there were a couple of his wins, which I thought were very fortunate as well in the UFC. So Damon Jackson was coming in on a 4-fight win streak. In the end, Dan Ige has this weird kind of power because he doesn't look like he has power. But then as soon as he fights somebody that's just a bit below his level, he seems to starch them.
Yeah, well, this one felt a bit more like an accumulation. Although that short hook he finished it off with was a very nice walk off KO. But man, like that first round, Jackson just he sets his level change up well with his hands, but he just wasn't really kind of going for it enough. And I know he kind of likes that slow start, but to be honest, I like the way at the end of the round he mixes it up and kind of fakes low and catches Ige with that overhand right. But that was like the one attempt where I thought Ige had really kind of overextended, and Jackson might be able to just kind of not even finish running a single leg, but maybe just power through and like just double leg him straight down. And there was no way he was going to have enough time at the end of that round to submit Ige. It was just after that, he just looked very tired, but overly patient, no urgency. And when he did kind of sloppily come in that final time and get caught, he'd already eaten a few big shots from Ige. It was always kind of just going one way after he couldn't get that takedown in the first. And I don't think he really went for it enough.
Well, it's funny. It's like both the co-main and the co-main event have this sort of similarity, and which obviously played out very differently in the end. But both losers, you just kind of felt that they lost belief after the sort of opening exchange or the first couple of rounds of the fight. You know, the first
Yeah,
two
I
rounds
wouldn't
being
say I would say
the first.
Jackson lost belief. I mean, like he was still moving in, but it was just that Jackson couldn't close that gap. Ige was doing a great job in the pocket, just landing big shots. Every time Jackson came in, bar sort of 2 occasions, I didn't really, it didn't really feel like it was worth his time. Slowed him up too much, but it was just that kind of tepid game plan. I think after the first round, the second round he needed to come out more urgent at the start, and he just started kind of chasing his losses a little bit rather than kind of losing that faith with Imavov. It was very much I saw more that he kind of just lost the focus he had at the start of the first round, and that he had regained by the 5th round because
Yeah,
every
I get what
time
you're
he was
saying.
kind of getting into close exchanges with Strickland. I think Cruz said on the broadcast he's going first and third, and it's exactly what was happening. It was just not quite there, just not reading it at the same speed. Jackson just got his ass kicked.
Yeah, this was a hey, listen, Ige needed this, and it's a statement. It's similar to the Gavin Tucker knockout, where it's like it's a statement. It's don't forget about me. I'm still here. I still believe in myself.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to make something happen. He's not, he's good everywhere, Dan Ige. It just seems to be that like when he tries to take that slight step up, he's not quite at that top 10 level. That's what it feels like to me. I thought that with the Barbosa fight, even though he technically got the nod, I thought he lost that fight. It's the case with Zombie, Evloev, Cater, all of these guys, man. It's just he can't quite overcome it. But
Yeah. I don't want to say a poor man's Josh Emmett, but he's starting to kind of slot in as like the gatekeeper before the gatekeeper.
I just think he feels like he's a bit small when he fights some of the real big guys at featherweight.
Yeah, like 140 might be kind of like the perfect weight class for him if it existed.
Yeah, and I know obviously Volkanovski's not the biggest guy, and there are shorter people in the division, but it just feels like, when I remember when he was fighting Zombie, it just felt like he was able to get out muscled. When he was fighting Cater, it just felt like he wasn't ever able to establish the range that he needed. It's a tough one for him, but he gets the win. Good for him. Damon Jackson, 4-fight win streak is brutally snapped. But again, only loses to good guys, Damon Jackson. Tapuria, Dan Ige. These aren't mugs.
Yeah.
Roman Kopylov. This was a brutal clinic on how to break somebody down from the body.
Yeah, this was fun to watch. Even though we did pick Puna, but fair play to Punahele Soriano for staying in the fight through all that body work as long as he did. And to be honest, like at the end, it was really Puna trying to get back some respect that put him in a position to ultimately get finished. And there was a moment there at the end of that in that second round, Kopylov looked to kind of be shaking his head a little bit. The old Rocky 4 moment. What is this guy made of? I think he's made out of like a sheet of steel. Soriano looked like maybe he was immortal, and then just a couple more shots to the body. Good night. But dude, that fucking that spinning kick to the body, that one, Jesus Christ.
That's the moment that I realized I wasn't going to do well on these picks. That was the moment. That's when I realized, as soon as, because Soriano started really aggressive, like he was walking him down, he was trying to, get that big right hand going. And as soon as Kopylov landed that fucking nasty spinning kick to the body that wasn't called as a cup shot, because when I heard the sound, I was like, that must have hit a cup. And then it's like, it hasn't hit a cup. It's the sound of it.
It broke a cup.
Smashing into the man's fucking midriff area and vital organs. I was just like, yeah, I don't think Soriano's going to win this fight.
Yeah, that was the sound of hernias opening up. Jesus.
That was some nasty shit.
In that first round, Kopylov was just kind of slowly piecing him up because Soriano was swinging big and missing. And, Roman did a great job just kind of controlling the distance and the pace in the first round, started opening up a little bit at the end. And round 2 after that kick, yeah, there was blood in the water. You knew the finish was coming.
No, he did very well. And for a guy it wasn't looking particularly good for at the start of his UFC career, he's really showing that he's got a lot of promise in this division. How old is he?
Oof, I'm going to guess late 20s.
31. That's not bad for middleweight.
I'm gonna guess early 30s. What was it?
Nice one. All right, one more fight on the main card to talk about that we got wrong. I've got no issues being wrong on this one though, because I like Raquel Pennington. She gets it done against Ketlen Vieira. That statement alone, I think, is really impressive because the size and power difference between her and Ketlen was ridiculous. But Rocky does exactly what she does. She doesn't give up. She's scrappy. She finds a way to close distance. She finds a way to land shots. She finds a way to get some combos going with the boxing. And for me, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Really similar to the Yana Kunitskaya fight with Ketlen Vieira. She loses this for me in that third round by just trying to hang on. And in those moments where she's hanging on, Pennington is landing shots. And I think, it's the second fight I think Vieira's lost in her career where it's just like you have a decent position and you just needed to be a little bit more offensive to maximize it.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, she just kind of shit the bed. Like round 1, Rocky is trying to get off the same game plan that basically ends up working through rounds 2 and 3. Kind of stay inside, use your head movement, try not to get caught with anything big, and just keep firing off more shots. And, that's going to be the best way to get in here. As soon as she felt Ketlin's power, that kind of changed, and she goes to just sort of jabbing from distance. And obviously, Ketlin's able to get a lot of good shots off. She really starts kind of opening up, and towards the end of the round, kind of working a jab a little bit. Rocky was just out of ideas and a bit lost right there. Then round two, um, it was like someone pushed the reset button on Ketlin Vieira. Okay, what's happening? She's got to start the fight all over again from scratch, apparently, and just starts letting Rocky back into it. It's like Rocky had no answers for the way you were fighting at the end of round one. Why wouldn't you just keep that momentum going through round two and round three? I guess maybe she had some injuries in training camp, and she was like a little tired or something. But after the first 5 minutes, she just kind of looked lethargic, and it's not like I say she shit the bed. It's not like she was absolutely awful. It's just I would have expected someone at her level, after controlling that first round and building through the first round, to be able to take it to another gear and finish this fight, if not absolutely dominate. So Rocky did an amazing job. How did you see it? Did you feel like Vieira kind of slowed down a lot after that first round?
Yeah, but the problem is, I think this is one of the issues with Vieira is she has a tendency to kind of let fights slip away from her that she's winning. If you look
Yeah,
at the fights that she's lost, there's a pattern to it. And it's usually a pattern of her doing well early. And then for some reason, and it might be fatigue, it might be energy, it might be, I don't know, it might be a mental thing. But she starts, for example, if she gets into a dominant position or gets somebody pressed up against the cage in the first round, she's throwing 1-2s, she's looking to land hooks, get them on. If she gets them on the ground, she's looking to do damage on the ground. And somewhere from like round two onwards, that switches to trying to get a takedown and then just hanging on to what she views as a dominant position. I don't know what it is, because she did 2 5-rounders against Holly Holm and Miesha Tate. And it was the 2 5-rounders where she showed a little bit more consistent aggression. The thing I'd say to that, though, is that in both of those fights, Holly Holm got a little discouraged from the power early on. Miesha Tate had some big right hands land in the first couple of rounds and became very kind of defensive and passive, and wasn't really trying to engage too much. So in both of those kind of like high profile wins that she's had, I feel she's been able to just kind of like intimidate to a certain extent in that early period. And then as a result, that kind of slower pace is just almost given to her. She's able to kind of work that and still be able to kind of win those sections of the fight. But I mean, thinking about that though, even with the Holly Holm fight, she started pulling it back after round 3. So I think maybe it's a stamina issue. I think maybe a mental issue with Vieira, but I think Rocky deserves
it
a lot
felt
of
a little
credit.
reluctant, because I swear she spent more energy losing those rounds than she did winning the first round, and presumably would have done, just fighting right, just getting behind your jab a little and just moving forward. But yeah, I don't know. That's what kind of got me thinking maybe injuries. But yeah, Jesus Christ, maybe she's just not built for it.
I think there's other
Excuse
factors
me.
as well. Rocky is not an easy person to fight. Not
No,
everything
no.
she does is what you would teach somebody to do. It's certainly not the way that she does it, but she just has this kind of like scrappy will and nature, and she's got good cardio, and she'll keep moving, and she doesn't stay in one place for too long. And I think that for somebody like Ketlin Vieira, when you are bigger and maybe a little bit slower, it's not easy to get your timing on somebody like Raquel Pennington. And she'll blitz, she'll throw strikes to the body, she'll mix things up, she will clinch a little bit.
Yeah, all the more reason to keep that jab out there, though.
I think what this really goes to show, though, is that Amanda Nunes, apart from maybe, oh God, what's her name? I can't believe Venezuelan Vixen. Can't believe this is slipping my fucking brain. Juliana Pena.
Pena.
Juliana Pena.
Juliana Pena.
Apart from Juliana Pena, that has shown that she can pull a submission out and find a way to beat Nunes, none of these other girls are beating her, man. Kellen Vieira was meant to be like the one prospect that hasn't fought Nunes yet, that you'd look at and go, maybe there's a size issue. Maybe she's got the power. Maybe she's going to catch Nunes sort of tailing off at the end. But man, if you can't beat Raquel Pennington, who even now, even considering that I think she's improved when she fought Nunes, if she was to get the next title shot, would most likely get quite brutally massacred. It just goes to show that bantamweight does not have the talent, particularly when you compare it to strawweight and flyweight, where I feel that the talent level is significantly improving over time and the depth's improving over time. And then you look at bantamweight and it's just like, you know, the one young prospect that we had was Aspen Ladd, and she's not even there. She's gone.
Yeah. I mean, overall, the talent is better than when Ronda Rousey reigned supreme, but it feels so much more stale just because of how dominant Nunes is with that one Pena blip aside. Man, I really want them to kind of build more women's divisions, if anything. But yeah, I mean, is bantamweight doomed to go the same way featherweight? Probably not. But it'd be nice if they could find a way to put more and build more in the women's divisions. And it does feel like ultimately they're just going to be stripping more away at the moment because, like you say, it's really just 115 and 125 that kind of move the meter.
Do you not think it's kind of weird though that, and I know this does happen in men's divisions as well, but you know, Raquel Pennington right now has the best argument to get a title shot, and we kind of already know how that's going to look.
We said the same about Juliana Pena, remember? So there's always that thing. But yeah, pretty much. You know,
I suppose at least with Juliana Pena, there was the idea that we hadn't seen her fight Amanda Nunes. Yes, we'd seen her fight people that Amanda Nunes had fought, but MMA maths doesn't always work out like that.
Yeah, but you, me, and Sly did at the time talk about this as it was about as automatic can be.
Yeah. I'll give you that. You never know. Anything can happen. Absolutely anything. Okay, no, you have a point there. You have a point. Ketlin, it's a bad loss. Rocky, good win. Congratulations on the baby. This is going to sound a bit controversial, but I thought it was a bit, you know, considering how good Tisha Torres was looking, I thought in terms of like whose career needs to be focused on a bit more and who can carry the kid. I kind of thought Raquel was going to have to take that bullet, but she's showing that, hey, I can get this title shot.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the decision came down to.
Don't know how it works with lesbians.
Well, I would assume that Tisha was more excited to be pregnant than Rocky was.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense.
There's also the same reason a lot of people do adopt as well. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Fuck being pregnant.
That's a good point. I just think it would have been hilarious if it's like they had a date planned and they were both doing their careers and it was just like trading. Like Tisha gets a win, she's just like, oh, Rocky's gonna be pregnant, and then Rocky gets a win, she's just like, no, it's gonna be you, Tisha.
Yeah, maybe it came down to the flip of a coin. I doubt it though. But fuck it. Hopefully, we get Tisha back for the tail end of her career. Is she formally like retired for good?
I don't know. How old's Tisha?
Young enough. Oh, what was she? Early 20s, a long time ago on The Ultimate Fighter. Say maybe like mid-30s.
Yeah, Rocky's 34. Tisha Torres is 33.
Still time.
The thing is, it's not impossible. And she is in like I'm looking at the picture of Tisha Torres. That woman is in as good a shape as a human can be in. I mean, there is not an ounce, but like I don't think she's going to have an issue dropping the baby weight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think if she wants to come back and compete, I think she's definitely got enough time to get that done.
Yeah, it's really just a choice, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
what do you want to do? But congratulations to them. That's cool. Congratulations to Rocky. Always been a fan of Rocky. Anyone with the nickname Rocky, it's just like an easy way for me to want to root for you.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, this is an exciting part of the podcast because we are now getting to the fights that we correctly predicted. We no longer have to talk about what we got wrong. We can talk about what we got right. Now, I don't think it's very impressive to brag about getting something right when you picked a man with the last name Nurmagomedov and is 0 in the losses column to win a fight. But that is what we did. He won his fight with a pretty sick knockout against a very talented fighter, Randy Barcelos. And I mean, what else can we say about Umar? He's going to be the nightmare that nobody wants to fight at bantamweight.
No, and this was a nice adjustment made against a guy that was really trying hard to take away his bread and butter. You know, Barcelos was just, even though with Umar being the southpaw, he kind of has the advantage where, he throws with his back leg. That liver shot is open. Barcelos doesn't have that luxury. Barcelos was pretty much just trying to bait him into kicking his body so he could catch it and counter. And it kind of forced Umar to adjust a little bit. And I felt ultimately that's kind of where the combo came from that finished him. You know, I don't know if he was feinting that knee or if he was actually going to throw it and just, couldn't quite land it. But, that quick two punch top combo that comes behind it's lightning fast. I didn't even think it was that hard. Just bounces straight off Ronnie's dome, though. Good night, Vienna. And he was just sat back, just waiting to kind of try and catch another body kick so we could counter that again.
He just timed it perfectly. I don't know if it was a combination he was planning, if it was instinctive, but Barcelos thinks he's dodged the knee and is not expecting the left hook. That's how he does it. It's like you said, there's no wind up on it. It's just he got caught with a hook that he wasn't expecting, didn't see.
Hit him in the right spot. I thought it was just quick straight, just from left to right like pistons.
I thought it was a hook. It looked like a hook with the left, and then he kind of catches him with the right straight, but it looked like he was already going his way down from the hook.
It would make more sense if he did catch him with a hook there, but it was that's how quick it was, though. It was literally just the blink of an eye and it was done.
Well, I mean, you talk about him being in Southpaw. He was giving Randy Barcelos so many different looks throughout the fight, man. I mean, he was constantly feinting, constantly switching stances. But mentally there was a lot being thrown at Rowney. And in the end, he just got, I mean, you think you're out the way of the knee. I'll tell you what, which knockout does this remind me of? It reminds me a little bit of like a Fiziev knockout. I can't remember if it's when he knocked out Moicano or if when it's knocked out Rafael dos Anjos. But just the speed of follow-up shots after your initial shot doesn't land.
Yeah.
I think it was the Moicano.
I can't remember.
I think it was the Moicano fight. But Umar, man, 16-0. He's for real. Nobody's going to want to fight him at bantamweight. Not enough people are talking about him. If he keeps up this level of work and fights every 3 months, I mean, I think he could be fighting for the title in 2024.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very possibly.
Very possibly. And I'd favor him. I mean, because here's the other thing about bantamweight. You've got a few aging guys that are still in the top 15 that are going to start to fall off. I think we'll see the Dominic Cruzes of the world and the Ascensaos of the world kind of slip out of the rankings completely. And then you've got a lot of strikers that would find it difficult to deal with Umar.
Yeah, I think definitely. And also, he's such like a dual threat. Well, triple threat, really, because he's got the kickboxing skills. He's got the wrestling from brother cousin, although he's no longer got him in his corner. And he's got the submissions as well. He really made his name being a knock him down and tap him out kind of guy. He's just too fucking scary. I think 2024 definitely could be he would be in the title picture, I would have thought. I think that's a good shout, Matt.
I'd favor him in a lot of matchups against the current top 10. A
Yeah, who
lot
do you
of
think's
matchups.
quicker, him or O'Malley?
O'Malley's got the height and the reach. That would be difficult to deal with. O'Malley is a question mark for me, but a lot of that is my logic with O'Malley is like, if PT Yarn can take you down, I'm pretty sure Umar can take you down. Now, PT Yarn didn't keep you down, but maybe Umar does.
Possibly, but just speed. Who do you think's quicker? Because I don't know.
See, the thing with O'Malley is, I'm not saying O'Malley's obviously very quick, but I feel with O'Malley, so much of it is timing. I feel he makes really good reads. He times his counters very well. I don't know how much of it is just pure speed, though.
I don't know. I think when I see him faint in the lateral movement, I've got to put him in as the fastest guy in the top 15.
Yeah, I think it's. Listen, I wouldn't argue with that. I wouldn't.
Well, actually, unless we put Umar ahead of him in the speed, that is. I think it's got to be him or Umar.
Yeah. In terms of hand speed, though, I will still say I don't know where he's in the rankings at the moment and in what weight class, but Cody Garbrandt, man, I think he's still got the fastest hands. Just pure, not total speed.
Yeah,
pure hands.
I think that's a good argument. I'm looking at the rankings right now, actually, and Mr. Garbrandt is absent from both 35 and 25. I would look from in 45, but it'd be a waste of time. I remember what the news is on Garbrandt.
I don't know, man. He's not really got the chin for it anymore, has he?
Probably not.
Probably
anyway,
not.
We still got a picture to do as well. Should we?
Yeah, we'll run through the prelims a bit more quickly. Battle of the Undefeateds. Javid Basharat shows his experience, beats Mendonca, who did his best, put up a good fight, just not very economical with his energy.
Yeah, but Basharat looked good on this one.
No, he's a top talent, man. He's another. I mean, he's another one at bantamweight to watch out for. Fuck me, bantamweight's a good division. Watch out for Basharat. So many dangerous guys. Middleweight, Ribeiro doesn't get it done. Al Hassan, the always dangerous Al Hassan, pulls off a really nice knockout. And delighted for a man because he just seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's had to deal with a lot of shit.
A lot of shit. He's a dad. Clearly, how his son views him means the world to him. And yeah, I like him at welterweight more than I like him at middleweight. Sorry, the other way around. Sorry, middleweight more than welterweight. I think him not having to think about the cut helps him. And he's never going to be a ranked guy, in my opinion. But
when you have kind of that one-shot power, and that's really where most of the victories do come from, even though he is trying to push more of a well-rounded game now. I think it's better to have the speed advantage with that as well. Speed plus power equals openings. You know, when you're the bigger guy, you've had the weight cut, you're a little slower, and you're trying to swing for the fences. You know, people are kind of gonna defensively work around that and just kind of fuck up your day.
Very true. Let's move on. Mateus. Okay, the pronunciation on the broadcast threw me off. Rebetsky.
Yeah, I think Rebetsky. Yeah,
Rebetsky is apparently correct. Versus Nick Fiore. Another undefeated man that lost his O on Saturday. Rebetsky just more experienced, I thought. Better all round. Really dominated this fight.
Good takedowns, powerful shots. Yeah.
Same with Anna Nascimento. No surprises here. Put a pretty dominant display in. Very nicely secured rear naked choke.
Yeah, surgical. Just it was beautiful. The way he was working with that standing triangle in the end. Just a beast.
Dan Argueta, former Tough alumni, getting it done against Nick Aguirre. Another guy who lost his undefeated streak. So many undefeated streaks went to bed on this card. It was crazy.
And another ass kicking as well.
Another ass kicking. Well, I mean, it was expected, but he did exactly what was expected of him, and could be a prospect to watch out for. You never know. And then rounding up the card, the always dangerous Charles Johnson, who has the weirdest haircut of all time. I don't know. Is that meant to be like a Tekken reference or like some kind of like
I
anime
feel
character?
it's more Spyro the Dragon, but maybe that's just me.
Uh, Pretty one-sided fight against Jimmy Flick. Although I will say, I thought the stoppage was a little harsh. I didn't feel Jimmy Flick was really like. I felt he was trying to stay in guard. He was trying to look for his openings. There was what 20 seconds left, 30 seconds left in the round. I don't know if that's reasonable, but
Yeah, it felt more like one of those finishes where the ref should have said 2 rounds ago, like, you need to show me something or I'm waving this fight off.
it's in the first round.
That's what I'm saying. You know, like typically you see a finish like that, and it will be when a fighter has
I
really
get
been
you.
getting their ass kicked, and the ref is like, look, you have X amount of time to show me something in this round, or I'm waving it off because your corner, for whatever reason, aren't throwing in the flag. That's the level of finish it was. You know, a bit of a soft, bit of an early finish. You know, I advocate for this anyway, but not like that. That was a touch too much.
I think you have to factor in styles as well. If Jimmy Flick was a on his feet kickboxer, then I'd say like, okay, he's clearly not in a position where he's got any ability to win the fight. But it's like Jimmy Flick's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu off his back. It was obvious that he was just trying to stay safe, look to see if he could maybe wrap something else out at the end and then get back to his corner. And the
Yeah,
frustration, I think, for him, it's not, we've seen guys where they get their ass kicked. The fight needs to be stopped to get stopped. And then there's that half-hearted, hey, why'd you stop the fight? No. But, it's kind of, they've waited till the fight's off before they start protesting. Jimmy just looks like, what the fuck's going on? What are you
yeah. I
doing?
mean, he took it well with Charles Johnson at the end. A lot of respect between the two of them, I feel.
I mean, listen, there's no
Yeah,
doubt
it
that
feels bad for
there's,
Jimmy. You know, you come out of retirement for that.
yeah, and listen, there's no doubt like Charles Johnson was obviously winning the fight. It's not like we've got any controversy here. I mean, there's nothing I saw that made me think that Charles Johnson wasn't going to continue on in the fashion. But you give a guy a chance, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was still a little bit of time left in the round. The finish was probably going to come. It was just, it just jumped in a little too quick.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
fuck it.
what was your overall thoughts on the card? Had to wait a few weeks for it. Had some good decisions. Had some good fights. Had some good finishes.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to get really excited about a one-sided ass kicking, it has to be quite big names, I think.
This is true.
Overall, I'll give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10. There were some good finishes. There were some good prospects on there, but
I'd
yeah,
say
ultimately
solid.
just not enough close fights.
Yeah, solid 6 for me, I'd say. And one of the problems is that pretty much all of the big news that we're about to touch on from this occurred in the press conferences after this card, because it's pretty hard for the main story to not be Francis Ngannou being released from the UFC and John Jones fighting Cyril Gane at UFC 285 for the vacant heavyweight undisputed title. And it's also pretty hard not to have the fight night overshadowed by the confirmation that the trilogy between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman has been confirmed for UFC 286, also in March at the O2 in London.
Ah, can I time that? Go over see Kate. I mean, go watch that. That's a proposition.
Well, you better get tickets
But yeah, man,
pronto. And
we
if you get tickets, let me know because I'll get tickets.
will do, man. Yeah, in Garni going, like we've talked a bit about it in the cold open, but let's revisit that a sec. We knew that he'd fought his last fight. The smartest people in the room were were willing to assume that it was probably going to be 1 year kind of period to renegotiate after that. And when we got to the end of the year, it really didn't look like it was going to get done. Ultimately, he's going to make more money if he can fight Tyson Fury and do MMA at the same time. And I don't think Bellator or PFL or ONE FC are going to say no to that.
Yeah, well, he's got
I mean,
negotiating power. He probably only saw maybe one or two fights that he really wanted in the UFC. All of those come with heavy negotiations, risk. It's not like the UFC when they're talking about these contracts, we're going to give him a 1-fight deal or a 2-fight deal. Once he signed, it was going to be for, that's the thing that never gets discussed is what
8 fights,
length,
I believe.
8 fights, that's the thing. So yeah, the UFC might have made him the highest paid heavyweight ever, but they were also locking in the entirety of his career into the UFC. That's
Yeah, how much money do you think is the highest paid though for the heavyweight division, right?
I think it's actually pretty high.
I think that's probably pretty low.
No, because
I think it's probably going to be like
they've had some big heavyweight contracts, mate. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, but
put it this
from
way,
like a while ago, I think Brock Lesnar probably would have been. It probably is the highest paid heavyweight.
I think it's Overeem. I think Overeem had $1.5 million guaranteed per fight before any other add-ons or bonuses.
Well, I think he's going to get offered probably a similar amount by PFL or Bellator. And I think what do you think would be a realistic amount for the Fury fight? I mean, I'm kind of thinking 20 million. Because it's a big heavyweight fight, reigning champ. Just and you know what I mean, like go on, sorry.
He's an easy person to deal with now. I think that's the main reason he's done this. So let's not look so much at Bellator because I'm not sure if he'd go for Bellator. Let's say he went for the PFL. The PFL are very happy and more than willing to have guys sign on just for the season.
Would he even do a season? Because did they have a heavyweight tourney last year? I thought maybe they capped it at 205.
Potentially, but I'm pretty sure they do a Grand Prix if they had Ngannou in.
That's what I'm saying though. Like, if the investment is to do some super fights, or to just to get as big a name in as they can and just pay Ngannou a shit ton to move pay-per-view units, which is the model they're trying to move into now. It's way cheaper to just do Ngannou fights 2 or 3 times this year, and we use that to flagpole kind of the big pay-per-views that we want people paying for, and try and get people used to this model. Because otherwise, you've got to get fucking 8 fights? That's quite a lot of fighters they bring in on each roster, isn't it?
For the season, you'd need 16 at least,
and all of them fighting presumably like at least 3 times, or most of them fighting at least 3 times. Yeah, it would be so much cheaper to just give that money to Ngannou and just do like the super fight, or do you know, just do like the one-off fights.
I get what you're saying.
Kind of like Clarissa Shields. Do you know what I mean?
However they do that, I think the main thing with the PFL is I think they'd be the most willing to have somebody sign on for a short-term basis.
Yeah. In fact, what is Jake Paul actually doing MMA in PFL? I assume so, right?
He will be doing MMA, I believe, yes.
And I don't know if he's going to, I think it'd be fucking stupid if he's going to do the Grand Prix, but I'm actually willing to talk about it if he's doing like fucking real fights against real fighters. And that would be the way it's going, right? Otherwise, why the fuck would you sign with the PFL?
Well, I think the main reason he signed with the PFL is that he's not making that much money from promoting his own fights. I think that's been the issue, is that his audience doesn't pay pay-per-views. You know, the Anderson Silva pay-per-view, I think, was atrocious. He didn't get that many people watch the second Woodley fight. You know, his model doesn't quite bring in enough fans to support a pay-per-view. But what it can do is it can bring a certain number of new eyes and fans onto an existing model that already has a fan base willing to purchase its product.
Fair enough. Makes sense. But yeah, I think that's what Ngannou should do, though. I think you've only got to fight Fury once. It's going to be more money than you would have made fighting for the UFC title. And if he does any other boxing, like, still going to make a good fucking payday. I think he could just be like a freelance mercenary, just do like MMA with PFL, do boxing when he can get it, and just really get his market value.
The only negative he's got with the Fury fight is that his valuation might go down from not being a current reigning heavyweight champion. That is the only negative. So maybe you go to PFL, maybe you win some heavy, or go to Bellator and win some heavyweight belt, and then have the clause written that you have the option to go box if it presents itself.
I think it'd be easy enough this year or next to go like, the UFC had to let this guy go because he cleared out the division. This guy is an absolute monster. Like, people are still going to be like, yeah, that's Francis Ngannou.
Yeah,
everyone's going to be like, the UFC couldn't pay him enough money to get the John Jones fight done. Like, Dana White's an idiot. It's not going to be, oh, he's not the lineal champ anymore.
I follow. Yeah. You got a good point.
But when he loses that Fury fight, his value goes down for boxing for sure. I think 20 million for that. Obviously, he's going to lose. Won't affect his MMA kind of marketability, and if anything, it just means more people know who he is. Although at this point, I think he's probably near kind of total saturation for how many people can know who he is. And then he could always take another fight if there was an opportunity to do a stupid big name boxing fight somewhere. It would obviously be for a lot less money, but it'd still probably be more money than the MMA. And because it's in Ghana, you could probably get away with being like, yeah, let's just do 6 rounds or something. It wouldn't be the end of the world. I think he's going to set up for a nice retirement here. I think this is the best way for him to go out. Well, although I wanted to see the John Jones fight.
You don't get everything you want in MMA, do you?
Rarely.
But we're getting
rarely do you get anything you want.
But we're getting
we're getting Usman Rocky. Touch wood, no jinxies.
We got a pick show to record, so I'll just ask you one question on that note, Josh. Does Leon get it done a second time?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I've said this a few times. I think I think his takedown defense was something to kind of build on from that first fight, and he just needed to have just pull the trigger a little quicker. I think the shot he knocked him out with was there a lot earlier than he took it in that in the final round. Yeah, fuck it, man. I really think Rocky puts him away, and I think maybe the first few rounds.
I couldn't agree more. My argument is very simple. This fight's at the O2. The O2 is in London. London is at sea level. It's literally next to a river. None of this mile-high fucking bullshit. No altitude issues, none of that crap. If Leon could beat him in Utah, he can beat Usman anywhere.
Yeah, man.
On that note, guys,
all right,
look out for the new channel swap. We will leave links in the description for this video. Probably next 1 or 2 weeks, we'll fully be on that channel. And it's called, Josh, I believe, the MMA Split podcast.
Yeah, and it'll be we'll drop the breakdown for 283 is like the first one on it. So we won't drop this one on both channels, but from next week on, we'll be doing simultaneous drops. Obviously, we would love to get as much traction on the new channel as fast as possible, but don't feel bad if it takes you a few weeks to switch on over. We'll keep reminding you, and like I say, we'll keep doing the simultaneous drops for a bit.
Sounds good. On that note, guys, thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your week. Like the video, and bye Dave, bye Laurie, bye Trifo.
Bye Laurie, bye Dave.